everybody, it's John Lemazny. I'm sitting here with Sean Petrosky. Hey, Sean.
Hey, John, how you doing?
How are you?
Doing
And
great.
we are sitting here tonight to talk about Customer and the Service, a podcast in which we talk about customer service experiences that we've had, best practices that we make a note of, and try to have a good discussion about things that we find that work well and maybe don't work as well. What do you have to say, Sean?
I think we have a good slate of topics tonight. We're talking about Google I/O finally and Xbox One, two very high-profile events last week in technology. And you're very excited about Google, and I'm very excited about Xbox and Microsoft. So I think you and I could have not asked for a better week of things to be following. And
I agree.
something
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, something tells me you probably followed I/O very closely, and I followed Xbox One very closely, but the same can't be said for the opposite.
Yeah, that's true. I heard some rumors about Xbox, but I don't really know what's going on with it, and I'm sure that you heard some rumors about I/O. But let's talk about it a bit.
All right, why don't we get into I/O then? Because I don't really know anything that was announced. From my perspective, it seemed like a fairly quiet I/O, and maybe I'm wrong. So,
Yeah, I think that the perception from somebody who's not following it closely would be that it was quiet because comparative to what they did last year, which was skydiving with glass, it was comparatively quiet. But I think that was by design. And they did not give away a lot of hardware like they did last year, and not a lot of Nexuses being handed out or Chromebooks, etc. What they did instead was they listed an amazing amount of changes to software, and we have been seeing those changes come out. Maybe you have not, since you've sort of separated yourself from Google a bit, but from Google Plus perspective, there are a lot of changes. We personally, you and I have noticed some changes because we've had to deal with the changes to Hangouts, but I think that they were necessary changes. And Hangouts reflects Project Babel, which was a project in which Google decided to take all their various messaging protocols that were spread out amongst their various communication services that allowed for chat and video, etc., and decided to bring them into a single silo called Hangouts, and that follows their methodology of moving people to Plus, really whether they want to or not. But it doesn't make sense for Google to continue to manage a second photo service while Google Plus exists. So Picasa really has to go. It doesn't mean that any of the functions or features have to go, but the name of it will change, and the various services that are available in Google Plus Photos and the various services that are available in Picasa come under the same roof. Music. Google Music saw some changes. One major change is that they are answering the challenge from services like Radio or Rdio and Spotify in a pay-in music service that you can go and listen to whatever music you like. I moved away from Spotify because I couldn't justify the $10 cost a month, although I loved the service and I loved the sharing of that content. In other words, when I would listen to something, it would automatically scrabble to Last.fm and it would automatically update on Facebook. Well, Google Plus Music, or Google Play Music, has adopted also a subscription all-you-can-eat music plan for $7 a month. Same cost as Netflix. I think it's well priced, and I did opt into it. They give you the first month free to give you a little taste, and so far so good. I love the service so far. And I had moved away from Spotify to Google Music, and Google Music has been available for a very long time, but they didn't have a subscription service. It was only music that you uploaded or ripped and uploaded. And so when they moved to the subscription methodology, I may not keep it because it's an expense that I can't really justify long term right now, unless some money comes out of somewhere. But Uh, $7 is not an incredibly large amount of money to spend, especially if you listen to a lot of music, and I do listen to a lot of music. I like its discovery methodology, the way that you find new music. I like its radio features. It does the same thing that Spotify, RDO, and other music services do. But because all of my music that I have ripped and made available through their cloud music streaming service is all there, in addition to the stuff that just came out last week, I find it to be a really nice comprehensive way to listen to my music. Spotify did not allow me to listen to songs that were not available on their service and were only available on my local hard drive from a centralized location. So I couldn't upload my music to Spotify and be able to listen to it from wherever I was. And they also were really odd about allowing the way that I could use their service when I was on my phone, for example. That was one of the things Spotify restricted from me being able to use. Whereas if I want to listen to Google Play Music on my phone without paying, I can still do it without ads, for example. And also Google Play Music, because it's essentially HTML5 and standards-based streaming, I can listen to it on any browser that's connected to the internet, including a Chromebook. I can't use Spotify on a Chromebook, for example. I also had a lot of trouble using Spotify on Linux because they had a lot of restrictions, and it was this like super exclusive beta, and it worked, but it didn't work well. Whereas if I can get a standards-based browser to connect to the internet, I'm able to use Google Music. So Google Music was a good upgrade. Google Plus has a number of upgrades. Gmail just today announced changes to the Gmail interface that will be opt-in, but they're going to organize your mail according to not only whether it's important or not, but the kinds of importance that it is. In other words, you can have it automatically group things according to the fact that it's from friends in your friends circle, or you can have it automatically grouped according to the fact that it's a subscription to an email list, or you can have it as being like real mail from people who you know who are trying to have a conversation with you. And of course there's Glass, where Glass was, they spent a lot of time on the presence of glass in the real world. A lot of people who were part of the Explorer program, and not the Explorer program, but the opt-in developer program, Glass developer program, where people paid $1,500 per headset to get those objects, those glass previews, got them like about a month ago. And so these people have been walking around and experiencing them and talking about their experience with glass. And there's been the expectable backlash, privacy backlash. What's going to happen when somebody's wearing glass and they walk into the men's room? What's going to happen when they're wearing glass and they, they're in some environment where privacy is expected and a camera would not be allowed. But the reality that's coming out, and the thing that people are answering with, is that we already experience these problems with cell phones. We already experience these problems with people who are hiding the fact that they have a camera. So it's maybe different. It's a different way of thinking about a camera, but the fact that it's on your face has a certain obviousness and a presence to it that I think is easier to explain from a privacy perspective. You probably will end up taking off glass in the same way that you would put away your cell phone when you walk into a bathroom. You don't walk into a bathroom with your cell phone on, do you, Sean?
What do you mean, like out like this?
Yeah, like this, taking a picture.
No, I don't do that. It stays in my pocket.
Hey, how you doing that? I'm just paying. Right? So
right.
We are encountering a new piece of hardware that thinks about the way that we capture everyday life differently. But it really is not new technology. It's just a new way of putting that technology together. It's really the same as a cell phone, but you wear it on your face. And most of the innovation happens in the eyepiece, in that piece of glass that's shooting into your eye, not in the sensors that are capturing the world around you. It's the way that those sensors are used, and the fact that as you walk around, you're recording certain events, right? And as opposed to your phone, which is not so much about you, but really about things like driving and communication. It seems like glass is more about you and the way that you travel through the world, the way that you walk through the world. So, for example, you say, okay, glass, navigate to New York City. And it automatically starts and goes into navigation mode. And as you turn your head, you can see the directions change, according to the direction that your head is facing, which you wouldn't see so much with your car because it's harder to, sort of maneuver in that way. It's like if you're playing a first-person shooter and you have that dual axis, I'm looking over here, but I'm running in this direction, sort of a thing. So those were all interesting. And then there were a whole bunch of changes to APIs, allowing developers to more tightly integrate Google services like Google Play or Google Plus into authentication, for example, and strengthening double-factor authentication, two-factor authentication into third-party services. And somebody has already implemented Google two-factor authentication into WordPress as a plugin, for example, since they made this available. So there were a load of things that were released, but I don't think that they had the same sparkle and shine that they did last year because they were more under the covers, behind the scenes sort of changes.
There's two things I want to talk to you further about in regards to Google I/O. So the first thing I want to talk about is Project Babel.
Yeah, which is now thought of as Hangouts.
So I actually did do a lot of reading about it.
Which we happen to be in right now, by the way.
Right. I did do a lot of reading about Project Babel. I think it was before Google I/O, actually. So I knew it was coming. And
yeah, there was some controversy about it, for sure.
I totally understand the philosophy behind it, and I think it makes sense to unify the communication. But I gotta say, the implementation is, really awful. And
Why so?
There's two things that bug me about it. One, when you're in Gmail or Google Plus and you're looking at the new Hangouts chat list, buddy list,
yep.
There's no easy way to tell who's online and who's not. And also, the list of people does not reflect or change based upon who's online and who's not.
Do you not see the green line underneath the icon?
No. No, I don't.
So I'm communicating with you right now. I'm going to go into Google Plus.
Right. I'm open mine too.
And if I'm in Plus, I actually have an indicator not only that you're on, but I'm connected to you right now. If I'm in Gmail, there's a green camera next to you.
Right.
And there's a green underline under your icon.
Okay, I don't have any of that. I see the green camera, but I have no green indication under you at all.
Okay. Well, try something for me, right? If you roll your mouse over top of my icon.
It gives me your information and tells you what circle you're in. Also, I would like to mention that you are on my list twice.
Yeah, you're on my list twice too. I think that's because...
Video call and then chatting.
Yeah, one is your phone and one is your desktop, I think.
No, well, it's definitely not my phone. I think it's because we're in a video call, it goes to the top, and then...
You're actually in my list 3 times at this point.
Oh, okay, well, that's interesting.
Rider University, 3 circles, 3 circles. And then this one down here that's green underline. I don't know. The other thing is I did a lot of customization uh, inside of my Gmail chat where I specifically show like people like you who I talk to all the time, like at least once a week. I decided to keep you in my list all the time, so I said always show.
Yeah, I had that too in Google Chat, but it seems to have ignored those settings for Google Hangouts for some reason. So what I discovered is that you can actually switch back to the old Google Chat in Gmail. So I did that, and I did that for Crystal as well because she was having a really difficult time understanding who was online and who was not online. So that seems to be a real barrier of entry for me and for Crystal. And so I guarantee you that there are tons of other people who are having that problem. And so that's one part of the Babel project that I find to be really frustrating. And the other thing is that Babel no longer uses XMPP. And I understand why it doesn't, and I'm really not that heated about it.
I heard about this issue. I think it's much ado about nothing myself. I mean, I think that they're following their methodology to move people to the browser as opposed to moving more towards clients.
Right, getting
because
away from clients.
They are a cloud company. Everything that they do is about moving people to a centralized service. And so relying on a desktop application or a protocol that supports a desktop application connecting to their service doesn't seem to me to be part of their philosophy.
Well, I understand that, but at the same time, and I'm glad that right now they still are honoring that protocol, and it still works. And it still works if you're using Google Hangouts and I'm just using Google Chat, we're still able to communicate seamlessly. And for the most part, it appears that they're going to maintain that. And I think I appreciate that. But
do you use a client, like a third-party client, in order to connect to Google Chat?
I do actually, because
you use like Adium or something.
I use Pigdin.
Oh, Pigeon.
Whatever it is.
Pigeon.
Yeah, I use that. I switched to it. I don't know, about 2 years ago.
Yeah, Pigeon's nice. I like it.
And I like that it was open source and the whole nine.
And Pigeon supports IRC, does it not?
Yeah, it looks like pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Skype and ICQ and just tons of other stuff. It's unbelievable what it supports. So I still use that. I actually do like running a chat client. I prefer it. Because I don't always have my browser open. I don't. I like the fact that it can just be on and signed in, regardless of what else. Regardless of what I'm doing. And
well, I guess that's a difference. You and I have technology differences. That's an example of a difference. Is I am usually in my browser. I usually have my browser open. If I have my computer on, my browser's open, and I usually have like 6 tabs open. Some of them are pinned, some of them are open, and Gmail is almost always open. Google Plus is not always open, sadly, for Google, but Gmail is always open, and it's like if I have any tabs open at all, Gmail is sort of like one, calendar is another, and so if somebody chats me, it's usually through Google Chat. I made a decision probably a while back that I was going to focus on, if somebody wants to connect with me over AOL Instant Messenger, it's probably not going to happen. If they connect with me with Facebook Chat, it probably will, but it'll be a secondary chat network for me. And usually if I'm trying to get work done, I will shut down Facebook because it's my worst distraction, So I'm different in that way. And because when I got the Chromebook, I really fell in love with it. Chromebook doesn't have a standalone chat application. It only has services that are supported in the browser.
Right.
And so Gmail falls into that.
Part of the reason I really do like the external chat program is because I like the flexibility of having a box that collects all my different conversations. I like the ability of resizing that and moving it where, literally, I work in a dual display setup here at home. I work in a dual display setup at work. I like the fact that if I'm doing something on my main screen and I need to have it full screen, I can move that chat box to the second screen and make it small or make it full screen or whatever. And I understand that Google Talk always allowed you to do a pop out, and things like that. But a pop out window in a browser, it just doesn't, in my opinion, offer the same flexibility that a chat window does. And
Yeah. If you have a dual, like I don't have any dual monitor setups anywhere. I would actually like to because of the graphic work that I do, but I love the portability of being able to just move. And most of my machines are portable, so I could see that in that situation if you wanted to have sort of a secondary heads-up display with everything that's going on in your life, including a chat, it makes sense. Yeah, but I think that philosophically it is different than the direction that Google is going. I think that they're moving away from independent desktop experiences because there are other winners in that arena, like Microsoft. I think that one of the ways that Google makes a distinction about their services is that they are all primarily available through a standards-based browser and internet connectivity.
So the last thing I want to talk about is Larry Page. So Larry Page, as you know, took the stage and started to talk about negativity in competing technology companies. And this was a little hard for me to swallow because
that's right. You posted about this.
I don't know if it was me. It might have been Shane.
No,
actually.
It was you. You posted about it.
So at
either you posted or reposted.
At the very moment that he was giving his speech, Microsoft announced that they had received a cease and desist letter from Google, telling them that they had to remove their newly developed YouTube app for Windows Phone from the Windows Store. And so as Larry Page is, again, I know this is brilliant, marketing or whatever, a political move on Microsoft's part, but
oh yeah,
Scroogled.
Did they use hashtag Scroogled?
No, I don't think they did. But at the same time, I kind of think that they had a valid argument. Google's point was that the YouTube app that Microsoft developed did not conform to their API standards. And the two violations were, one, it allowed for the downloading of videos, so like you could cache something for offline viewing, and the other problem was it didn't display ads.
Yeah.
So Microsoft's response was, well, we've been reaching out to you for 2 years for access to the API that would allow us to integrate your ad system, and you've been denying us at every corner. So instead, they just use the standard mobile feed that's available through a mobile browser. Like if you just go to m.youtube.com, they were just using that feed that's available, and there's no ads served up that way either. So, I guess, like I said, so as Larry Page was talking about the negativity and how it makes him upset and sad that this negativity exists in the competing technology spaces. Microsoft has bent over backwards many times to try and collaborate with Google to provide Windows users Google services that they like. You know what I mean? And they're just trying to, it's fine that Google doesn't want to develop a YouTube app, but it's also Microsoft's prerogative to provide their users with their own developed app if they want. And they use the APIs that were available to them at the time. So I don't know if you saw, but on Friday, which was the day that they had to comply with the cease and desist order, this past Friday, Microsoft issued an update to their new YouTube app for Windows and disabled the downloading capability. However, they are not able to still display ads, but Google then announced that same afternoon that they would be collaborating with Microsoft on developing a YouTube app for Windows Phone. So it appears that maybe Google is now softening on their hardline stance against all things Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. So hopefully this will be the beginning of
So hold on a second. So what official channel said that Google has a hardline stance against Windows 8 development?
Google has stated multiple times that they are not going to support Windows 8 in any way. That's been publicly
Not
stated.
support it, but that's different than refusing to uh, refusing to allow it.
Well, I'm not saying allow it. What I'm saying is that they have said that we will not develop a YouTube app for Windows Phone 8. We won't develop YouTube app for Windows
Well,
8.
maybe they don't see a market there.
That's fine. That's absolutely
And
fine.
they also, I mean, Google also very often gets criticized for developing a service like Google Reader and having to remove it at some later point because they see its end of life.
My issue is not that they're not developing for Microsoft products. That's their prerogative, and if they want to,
Right, I agree. So what's your issue?
my issue is that it's Microsoft's right to use publicly available APIs to fill in that gap and develop
Right.
an app themselves.
But but Google's services require that you use the application, you use the service in the way that Google expects and allows.
Right, but if Microsoft was not given access to the API necessary to display the ads that Google wants them to display,
But it's not a publicly available API, right?
right, they have to be granted permission.
They have to be granted permission. The same is true for many things in Android that are Google applications, right?
Right.
You can't just have certain things be available on Android just because you want them there. The minute you get into proprietary applications offered by Google, you have to use them according to Google's will.
Right, but here's the thing, like Microsoft was trying to develop an application that was 100% compliant with Google's wishes, and Google prevented them from implementing one of the most crucial aspects of one of those requirements, which was the ads.
Right, which is Google's main avenue of revenue.
Right, so that's what I'm trying to say is that Microsoft is saying, we understand you want us to serve out your ads in our YouTube app. And Microsoft said, we absolutely are willing to comply with that. Please give us access to that ad technology so that we can comply with your regulations. And
Right,
Google
but
said,
understand
we will not do that.
If Google's not developing an app,
Right,
and they haven't already developed or allowed or given access to the API in order to do the development that Microsoft wants to do, because maybe of security reasons or maybe the want to protect the content in some way that they haven't exactly worked out and haven't spent the time in order to make that API safe to use. And that's time that they would have to expend for a platform that they don't support.
but that's the thing. Then, if they don't want to make that API available for the reasons that you just said,
Is the API development not their prerogative as well?
I would think it is. But in this case, they purposely did not allow Microsoft access to that.
They were not specifically calling out Microsoft in this case. They did not make the API available to Microsoft. They didn't make the API available to anybody, including Microsoft.
Okay,
Yes?
so all right, fine, all right. So, but that's what I'm trying to illustrate is that in order to comply with Google's rules of utilizing YouTube through a third-party app, their requirement was you need to have X, Y, and Z. And
Right.
Microsoft had X and Y, and Z was the ads. But Google did not make the ads available through the current API.
Right?
How then is it possible for anyone to then comply? What's the point of even offering a public API if it's not possible for anybody to comply with X, Y, and Z?
But they did not offer the API that solved the problem, yes?
No, they're just now starting to collaborate. But there was a 2-week period where
Right, and probably only
more than
because
that,
of the
actually.
fallout of the issue.
Right. But it was Google. I know for a fact Microsoft has gone on record multiple times saying that they had reached out to Google to try and get the necessary information to be in compliance with Google's requirements, and they were rebuffed. Are you there? Hello. I'm just gonna wait here for you to come back. Hello. Hi.
Hey, hold on.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
My screensaver gets zealous sometimes.
So I'm glad to hear that they are collaborating now.
Okay.
And that they are, like, Google is now going to work with Microsoft to allow Microsoft to develop an app that complies to Google's regulations. But I just feel like it was really unnecessary that these two companies had to get to this point. Hello again.
Hey, sorry.
It's okay.
It's a whole series. The interruption. I do this. It happens every time I get into a video chat now. I really have to go in and fix. I'm on Linux, and my screen. I'm not even going to describe it.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I was saying that I'm glad that they are collaborating on this issue, and that Google is now going to help Microsoft fall into compliance for the API requirements. But the thing that disappoints me is that, it took all this time, and basically it took Microsoft setting a trap for Google to come around and cooperate. And the only reason I bring this up is because Larry Page dedicated a segment of his keynote at Google I/O, basically talking about how the negativity in with technology companies really upsets him when his company.
I think Larry Page should not be able to talk on Google's behalf, because I think he gets into a lot of trouble when he speaks.
Well, that's sort of the point I'm trying to make.
Point made and underlined. I think that Google should be a lot more open with their APIs, and the announcements at I/O speak to that end. But it's not perfect yet, and they haven't done all the work that they need to do. They need to do a lot more.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we're disappointed even by the companies that we love.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
And I have to say, too, I have found myself in the last couple of weeks being disappointed by Google services in ways that surprise me. For example, are you familiar with the $1 billion acquisition of Waze, an Israeli company that makes this geolocation software? It's navigation software that's socially supported.
No, I'm not familiar with this at all, and I'm not familiar with the acquisition either.
So, I don't know if it's already happened. I think it has already happened, but Waze, W-A-Z-E, is an alternative to something like Google Navigation. It's free, and it essentially reminds me a lot of like a TomTom, right? Mm-hmm. So it has the ability to navigate from place to place. It has turn-by-turn navigation, but then it has this beautiful social layer and alteration layer. So you can say, for example, it has gamification built in. So as I'm driving, I gain points, and the more I drive, the more points I get. And if I do certain things while I'm driving, it's the actions are reinforced by points. For example, let's say that I'm driving to. I refer now to Princeton Public Library as my workspace because, like, when I want to go to the office, that's where I go. And uh, so on my way there, I'll open up the app, I'll go to navigation, I'll click on work, and it navigates me to Princeton. And because I decided to have Waze open as I drove, I get points as I go. And it also indicates where my friends are on the network. And because Facebook is the way that I connect with those friends, anybody who uses Waze who's also on Facebook is indicated to me. So I might see over there, oh, hey, Sean P. is driving over there,
That's cool.
So that's one thing. But then let's say that on the way I see that there's a speed trap on Harrison Street, North Harrison. And I, in 2 clicks, can report that there's a speed trap there. And as a result, I get points. And so the intent of the speed trap is to make people slow down, right? Or to capture people as they are speeding. But if they are using Waze, they're alerted to the presence of police in the area and are more likely to slow down and drive more reasonably. And so as a result, the intent of the police is still met. But I think it leads to safer driving. But it's also the gamification aspect makes me more likely to opt in to that report, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there is a construction or if there is a traffic jam, I can report those things too. Or if there is an alteration to the normal flow of traffic, such as a closed lane, I can report those things. And as a result, when there are those kinds of things, Waze is very likely to give me an alternate route to the route that I was going to travel normally, especially where the increase in time that happens because construction is going on or one of those things, a closed lane, etc., will increase the time. And it shows like miles per hour on a particular strip. If it's not normal, not miles per hour, it'll say from here to here, it's now 13 miles an hour on average. And so you probably want to take the alternate route that would be normally crazy for you to do. But because we have calculated that it's unlikely that you're going to get there faster by going the normal route, you should probably take the alternate route. Google has all of this information and then some in
Google Now?
In Google Now and in Google Navigation. Not in Google Now, but in Google Navigation. It has a traffic layer. It has a social network in Plus. There's no reason why I wouldn't be able to log into Plus and inform what's going on in navigation. However, I think that Google is reluctant to do that because they fear reprisal of them making use of information that's available on the network. Waze apparently doesn't have that fear and makes beautiful use of gamification, social entities on the network, and also I cannot tell you how frustrated I get when I've been to a place 10 times and I'm still not sure exactly how to get there, and for whatever reason can't remember the particular address or something. The work that I have to do in order to get that address into navigation is more work than anybody should have to go through. In Waze, I get the address in there once. I say, remember this as a favorite. And it's as easy as going into navigate favorites and scrolling through till I get to that favorite and hitting it. And it starts.
Pretty much every GPS app or device I have personally ever owned has had that functionality as well.
Of course. And you can star items in maps, but there is no access to that information
in navigation.
of starred items in
Yep,
navigation.
they're two separate silos of information.
Right. At least it's not easy to get to. And
Nope.
I have starred many, many things in maps. And like the fact that I start typing in an address, like I should be able to type in Harrison Street and should know that items, places on Harrison Street near me that I have starred should pop up.
Immediately. You're right.
Why
Absolutely
don't
right.
they?
And that's their search algorithm, if I'm not mistaken, you know?
Right. And so I'm really aggravated sometimes at the lack of use that Google does of its own properties.
Hmm.
You know,
Microsoft I would say that I felt that way about Microsoft about 2 or 3 years ago. And I would say that Microsoft has, since over the past 12 to 18 months, put itself on a path of integration that I'm proud of.
well, I hope that Google. I think that's why Plus emerged,
Hmm.
and I think that they are slowly starting to make good use of some of those things. But in the meantime, Waze creates a pressure on them from the navigation standpoint to do better. And you know, there are a lot of people who love the navigation app in Google Maps, but when you use Waze and you use it the way that it's intended to be used, it's a revelation about the way that navigation should be on phones.
Well, that's awesome, and I wish I had the ability to try it. I'm not even gonna bother to look to see if they have a Windows Phone client because I'm willing to guess that they do not. But
Well, you never know. I mean, it's definitely available for Android, definitely available for iPhone. So I would not be surprised if it was available for Windows Phone.
well, I will check it out then.
Yeah, please do, because I would love to see, you know, if you're like in the area or something, it would just tell me because you decided to make that information available. Plus, it integrates with other social networks. So it integrates with Facebook, integrates with Foursquare, integrates with Yelp, integrates with, right? So I'll do a search on a word. If I go into navigation and I type in Whole Earth Market, it might find it. But what it doesn't do well is help me to find and easily navigate to
A fuzzy address.
fuzzy address, right? Fuzzy address it does not like. It's
You
like,
know-
oh, I didn't find, 12 Witherspoon Street. Instead of like guessing that I'm talking about something on Witherspoon Street. It's
Believe it or-
somewhere around 12.
Believe it or not, Bing Maps on the Windows Phone and Nokia's Here Maps do that very well. And
Oh yeah. Well, so does Waze. So and that's the other thing is if I do a search on Quick Check, right? I can go into Waze, do a search on Quick Check, and it gives me like 7 possible collections. It shows me Yelp, it shows me
right.
Waze, it shows me Facebook, it shows me Foursquare, it shows me what else? I don't know, but it allows me to navigate through those various collections of geolocations and look for that phrase. And so I might not find it in Foursquare, I might not find it in Yelp, but I might find it in Waze, or I might find it in all 3 of them, but I might find suggestions that are related to those things in each of them. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful, beautiful.
That's really awesome. Before we start our second topic, I'd like to just kind of
Yeah,
add...
we're going to talk about something else. I completely forgot.
I wanted to just talk about, briefly, a GPS device I had many years ago. It was called the Dash. Are you familiar with this device?
Nope.
So the Dash was a traditional GPS unit that you mounted on your car, through a suction cup mount. But the thing that made it unique was it actually had cellular data connectivity. So it had a SIM card in it, and it connected to the T-Mobile network. You bought the device, and it got you, you paid a yearly subscription to Dash, and they would remotely update your maps. They would communicate accidents, traffic information in real time to the device. So I would be driving and all of a sudden I would get a boom. There's an accident in 5 miles on this route. Would you like to reroute? And then I would hit a button on the screen. It would reroute me on the fly.
You should look at Waze because it would be that is a small subset of the features that it does.
Yeah, I had this GPS about 5 years ago, and I gotta say, I have the Garmin app for my phone. I love it. I've been using Nokia's Drive GPS navigation app, which is great. I don't love it as much as the Garmin app, but it's great for a free navigation solution. It's just as good as Google navigation, if you ask me. But I have not found a GPS that I loved that as much as I love that Dash. And I was such a strong believer in what they were trying to accomplish that's why I spent the extra money to get that particular unit, because it was like twice the cost of a normal GPS. And I felt that at some point, like that either somebody else would see what they were trying to do and improve upon it, or they would improve upon it. And there's been zero development. I haven't seen Garmin or Garmin or TomTom or Navigon or whoever you want to say makes a GPS device. No one has tried to pick up that baton from Dash. And it really upsets me. And I haven't seen really too many mobile apps other than the one that you're talking about today that have attempted to do that either. So sadly, Dash was actually purchased by Research in Motion. And the rumor was that they were going to integrate the Dash platform into BlackBerry. But that never happened. So
yeah, it seems like it's such a ripe area for development.
Exactly.
I really wish that there was more going on there.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if Waze is available for Windows Phone.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Let's see. Yeah, Waze, Windows Phone Apps and Game Store.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, how do you spell it again?
WAZE. Sign up now for the Waze Windows Phone 8 beta app.
Oh, okay. That is amazing. Well, I will be signing up for that right after we get off tonight's chat, because I am really excited to try this. And
yeah, I think that you will like it for sure.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely something like I would absolutely love, because if there's anything that I love, it's gamification and navigation in one.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So we're gonna have a jam-packed episode here. We haven't had an extra long episode probably since like our 4th or 5th episode of Customer and the Service. So let's push on into the hour mark here. Yep. Xbox One. So we had the big announcement on last Tuesday. Xbox One was announced. No price was announced. They did show off what the device looks like, unlike Sony. Sony did not show us what the PlayStation 4 looks like. So we got to see what the Xbox looks like. We got to see what the new Kinect looks like. But Microsoft dedicated, it was a 1-hour event, and they dedicated about 95% of that event to talking about television. And they did not actually show any game footage.
Wow.
So I gotta say, I enjoy TV, and
Talking about television or talking about a TV?
Talking about utilizing the Xbox to change the way that you access television, TV.
Television content or like
television content. Live
That's
broadcasted
sad, man,
television.
I'm a cable cutter. What is that about?
Well, that's an interesting point. So the Xbox One has an HDMI out, which you use to hook up the Xbox to your TV, and it has an HDMI in, which you use to plug in a cable box or a satellite TV box. And basically what that then does is uses the Xbox to control your cable box and also integrate the Xbox interface on top of your television. So one of the demonstrations was, I would say, with the Kinect, which is voice controlled, I could say Xbox, watch MTV, and it would automatically change the channel to MTV. I don't even have to say the channel number, it knows. And the other thing I could do is I could say, I could pull up a program guide and do Bing, voice searching through the program guide. The other thing that was cool actually was that they had this thing where you could, while you were watching TV, like full screen, you could just take your hands and go like this, and you would see the TV picture shrink into a smaller box, and then the Xbox interface would envelop around it and allow you to basically multitask with the Xbox interface while you were still watching TV. And then when you wanted to go back to the show, take your hands and pull it out, and then it would make the screen, the TV back to the full screen of your TV. So that's basically what they demonstrated, was the switching. So like right now, if I want to turn my Xbox on and switch between my television and my Xbox, I have to use my remote control that controls my television, and there's a delay. So by having the HDMI input into the Xbox, you're able to do instantaneous switching between game content and television content. And then with that, they have multitasking capabilities. So I could be watching a movie, a downloaded movie, a streaming movie from Netflix or live television, and I can actually create a separate space on the right-hand side. So I can be watching TV full screen. I can push in to go into the Xbox interface. I could open up Internet Explorer on the Xbox, look at a website, and then expand the TV again and have a gutter of Internet Explorer on one side and then the live television on the right. And so I could do multitasking that way. So the entertainment capabilities of multitasking with gaming and the rest of the Xbox was pretty impressive. But we all know that the Xbox is where it is because it's a gaming device. They did not like I said, they showed some footage of games, but it was pre-rendered cutscenes. It wasn't actual gaming footage. So I don't know what a game is going to look like. And then they spent a chunk of time talking about a new Halo TV series that Steven Spielberg is creating exclusively for the Xbox. I see the face that you're making. It was the same face I was making while watching this event. And the list goes on and on of things that just didn't make any sense as to what they were talking about and why they chose to focus on entertainment. But through my readings, before I get to the rest of the stuff that I've discovered since this event, during my readings, one person made a point that I haven't really seen too many people jump on, and the point was this: when the original Xbox 360 was announced, the platform itself was dedicated to gaming, and that was back in 2005, 2006. Here we are 7 years later, right? The Xbox 360 doesn't just play games now. It is a media streaming device. It gives me access to ESPN, Netflix, all these things. Streaming music services. These are services that if you had told the Xbox team 7 years ago you'd be using the Xbox to access, they would have thought you were crazy. So this commentator was saying that 7 years from now, when the Xbox One comes out, no one will be watching television, traditional television, the way that we are watching it now. So he was confused as to why Microsoft...
Or in my case, I am not watching television the way that many others are watching it now.
Right. So why would Microsoft dedicate such a large portion of the new Xbox One's functionality to an archaic entertainment model?
I have no idea. That does not seem very bright.
Right. So there you go. That is the problem that I would say 90% of gamers are having with Tuesday's event. is that Microsoft focused on an area that really has no relevance to gamers and has no relevance to the future. You know, it may woo my dad or my grandma right now today to buy an Xbox One, but 5 or 6 years from now, even my grandma and my dad might not be watching traditional television the way that they are now.
No, why is there not already? This is what I don't understand. Given what has happened with Netflix, and by the way, Arrested Development.
Yes.
Given that what's happened with Netflix and the way that it has shaken and proven the way that networks will emerge, because that's what Netflix is now. They are a network. They are the CBS of today, the NBC, the whatever. Why does CBS not have an app? They can put as many commercials in it as they want. I should not have to sit in front of this box in order to watch AMC.
Right.
I should not have to sit in front of this box in order to watch, and Hulu is not really the answer, because it's really, Hulu is a carryover of the cable methodology, the cable mentality, because
Absolutely
it doesn't contain everything.
No.
And meanwhile, AMC doesn't provide. Where is the AMC app?
Right.
Because
where is it?
I actually bought Verizon television service to watch AMC, not to watch many other things, to watch AMC, and struggled with that extra whatever it was, $30 a month, so that I could watch Mad Men, Breaking Bad, and the various other shows, The Killing of Rosie Larson, The Killing, I mean. Why is it so difficult for me to get to that content? I don't even care about it being up to date. And after a while, I said, well, I'll just watch it on Netflix when it's old, because it's stupid for me to pay $30 a month in the hopes of catching this show when everybody else catches it. I don't really care about being current. I care much more about having some ease with which to watch that content. And I am not alone. There are many people who are willing to wait or just break the law in order to watch that show right now.
Right.
So why not make it easy for me to pay in? Better yet, AMC, make an app I have to pay for. Make me pay $5 a month.
Yeah, or something.
I'm not paying $20 a month, but make me pay $5 a month, and I will get the show the way that you had intended for me to see it, and give it to me without ads. Give it to me in the same way that you would give it to Netflix.
Right.
And I'll pay into it. Or give it to me for free and make me watch ads, and I'll deal with it. But don't make me pay for Verizon, because that's stupid. Aggravating. It's aggravating that we still live in this everybody's been talking about the holy grail of cable, which is a la carte programming. And cable doesn't want it because it does not benefit them comparatively to the way that they have it now.
Right.
Where I have to pay $120 in order to have a package of a whole lot of stuff that I don't care to watch. I don't watch sports. I am an American male, and I don't watch sports. I know. But Verizon wishes that I did, because they want me to spend an extra $30 a month in order to, and it's not about the package deal. It's about me paying for the DVR. It's
Right.
about me paying for whatever, the renting an extra cable or whatever, or if I have 2 rooms, having a second DVR, or having one DVR and one horrible, not even as functional as my Roku box. It's aggravating, man. And you want to talk about customer service, this is what it's about. And Xbox is continuing that tradition.
They are.
Because people are trying to continue that tradition. Make Xbox the way that the AMC app shows up. because it's not happening on Roku. It's not happening on my phone. It's not
Right.
happening on my tablet. I wish that it was. But why not? Why is it that difficult for me to get to the content that I want? I'm going to have a really hard time. Right now, I have stopped watching Mad Men. Not because I don't love the show, but because the only way that I can get to it is by torrenting it, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. I just don't, because that's one of the things that will end up getting me one of these 3 strikes deals,
Yep.
you know?
Right.
So I should not be this conflicted in order to see this show that is shown for free. Because it is shown for free.
More or less, basically.
So why not make it easy for me to get to it? I still have to watch the commercials. Go ahead and give me commercials. Or make me pay for into the app. Give me a premium version and a free version, and let me make that decision. You will get your money one way or another.
Right.
But right now, you're forcing me to either pay for television that I'm never going to watch because I bought Verizon, kept it for months, and didn't watch it,
Right.
or steal it. And I don't want to steal it.
No,
Make
you're
it
trying to
easy
do
for me
you're
not
trying
to
to do the
steal it.
right thing, and they're making it difficult for you
Right.
to even just do that. You know, they're making it impossible.
Google TV, the same thing. It does not make sense for me to have Google TV because I have a Roku that does basically all of that. Now, a Boxy Box would make more sense because it's more like a Roku and gives me a lot of things that the Boxy Box does not.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a Linux box running XBMC, Xbox Media Center.
Right.
But like, Xbox Media Center exists. Why is Xbox working so hard to make it a better living room home theater PC when Xbox? Why not throw that money towards Xbox Media Center and just present that app as their own?
It's a great question. So this is the question that many gamers are asking themselves right now: is that why is Microsoft focusing on this area? And there's an easy answer, and that is that the console market is losing sales generation after generation, year after year, and the cost of these devices is going up more and more each year. And Microsoft feels that by billing the Xbox not only as a gaming device but as an entertainment solution, that they will attract more customers. And there's an argument that could be made for that. The information that I'm hearing from developers in the Xbox arena is that these wonderful entertainment applications that are developed for the Xbox platform are not making a difference in sales. It's just existing customers utilizing new functionality, and people are not running out to Best Buy and buying an Xbox because they can use it to watch Netflix. So, that's, further complicating this whole argument of, why are we then wasting our time on this stuff? And if you watch the 3-hour Sony PlayStation 4 event, at no time did they really, will it have entertainment capabilities? Yes, it absolutely will, because the PS3 has it now. But they did not dedicate any of their 3 hours to talking about it because they know that the people watching the event are gamers. They only care about the games and the capabilities of the system. So, the common questions we've had about the Xbox and the PS4: will they be able to play used games? Will they require an always-on internet connection? The answer to the Xbox One right now is it will allow certain things to be done without an internet connection, like watching a Blu-ray, like playing a single-player game, etc. However, the Xbox itself will need to phone into Microsoft once every certain amount of hours. So Microsoft does not determine what that phone-in requirement is. It might be once every 24 hours, once every 72 hours, but there will be a requirement that the console has to phone in once every certain amount of time in order to stay active in an offline mode.
Well, I wonder too, I can understand the backlash to that, but I wonder too what the statistics are on Xbox owners, regular Xbox owners who are not internet connected.
Well, there are a lot. There's a large, believe it or not, there are still millions of customers that don't utilize the online capabilities of their Xbox. There are Xboxes that stay offline, and I know that's hard to believe, but that is what's going on. And so, how will then the new Xbox function that way? It won't. So,
Well, if that's the case, they need to do something like a Kindle does, where there's a 3G chip in the Xbox that allows them to make that connection for free
yeah,
in order to meet that mandate.
that's a great idea.
It wouldn't be for playing. It wouldn't be for real-time connections in multiplayer games, but it would certainly be for that purpose to be able to phone home.
Right.
You know,
So the used game question. So when we had our conversation last week, I could have actually given you an answer. And the answer out of the Xbox One event was, sure, you'll be able to play used games. You'll be able to go to GameStop and buy a used copy of, Halo 5. And when you get it home, you'll actually have to pay an additional fee to Microsoft in order to use that used software on the Xbox One. So
Xbox has no trouble with somebody making money off of a used game as long as they're making some money too.
Well, the reason for that is the major problem in gaming development right now.
I know the reason for it.
The major problem in game development right now, and believe me, I'm not a supporter of this used game initiative, but that when GameStop buys a game from a gamer and then resells it, the game developer, the company that made that game, does not recoup or gain any
Right. Same
sale.
as used books, same
Right.
as used DVDs,
Exactly.
same as used anything.
So this fee that Microsoft would charge to activate a used game would be going to the developers. Now, again, like I said, if we had this conversation on Wednesday, that would be the answer I gave you. Since then, because that was what was stated in post-event interviews given by the head of the Xbox division to different journalists. He stated it multiple times. Since then, Microsoft has backpedaled and said that used games will be able to be played on the new Xbox, but we have not finalized our plans for any activation or anything like that. So they've sort of backpedaled in a way. And Sony, on the other hand, now there's a campaign on Twitter where PlayStation 4, PlayStation users are saying to Sony, we know you haven't announced any formal plans about your used game platform, but please don't do what Microsoft is talking about doing. And Sony announced today that they are actively listening to what's going on Twitter, and they are gonna absolutely announce more information at E3. So it could be that Sony will then have a platform that allows unrestricted used game access, and Microsoft has a restricted used game access, and that would just totally make things bonkers. You'd have two competing platforms with two opposite diverging philosophies on used games, which would be something I can't even fathom.
Incidentally, we've talked about Microsoft, and you just mentioned Sony. Is Nintendo dead in this market?
Nintendo has the Wii U, which came out this fall.
I heard it's not doing well.
It's not doing well at all. They are in desperate need of a price cut on the Wii U, but Nintendo has said that they will not cut the price of the Wii U anytime soon. It is not selling because people don't understand that the Wii U is a new system. So all the grandmas and mothers that bought the original Wii for Wii Fit Plus or Wii Sports, and they don't understand that the Wii U is a totally separate new system. So that's what they're saying is now affecting the sales of Wii U. And not to mention that gamers, for the most part, are ignoring it because most developers are ignoring the platform altogether and not developing any games for it.
Mm.
So basically Nintendo and Sega and a few other developers are making software for it, but the large community of third-party developers that exists for the PS3 and the Xbox are ignoring it. The 3DS, which is the handheld 3D system Nintendo has, came out about 18 months to 2 years ago, had similar sales problems. Nintendo cut the price about a year after it came out. The 3DS now is selling wonderfully. Software is selling in the millions. The device is selling wonderfully worldwide, and all it took was them to drop the price of about 50 or 60 bucks. So in my opinion, Nintendo's probably got to come down about, $50 to $75 on the Wii U, and we might be hearing a little bit of a different song out of Nintendo. But they are on a fast track to irrelevance if they don't turn things around.
Will it be Blur's Song 2 slightly modified?
It will be. It will be. So the last thing I just want to mention real quick about the Xbox, it's
you're welcome, by the way.
Anytime.
For having that in your head.
The last thing I want to mention about the Xbox One is that right now, if you buy a game for an Xbox 360 or a PS3, you're basically streaming that game off of the disc. You put it in the drive loads up a portion of the game, plays it, and then reads the disc actively as you play. The change with the Xbox One is that you'll buy a disc from the store, it will register that copy to your account, your Microsoft account, and only be used for installation. So it will install the game to the hard drive of the Xbox, and then it will not require the disc ever again. So basically, we're kind of running into I don't know, I'm looking at it now as what's the point of even buying a disc? Like, why don't I just buy it digitally? You know what I mean?
There was a point at which Apple more or less said, we're not going to distribute. Discs don't make sense. Physical media doesn't make sense in a world where we have terabyte storage and high-speed internet for most people who are interested, and why do we still have these round silver things?
Right. So, so if the used game argument becomes, well, you have to pay Microsoft in order to play a used game, no one's going to buy used games. They're just going to buy. They're just going to buy them, and that's what's going to happen. And I think it's ridiculous. But
really, I mean, there are people who still buy Atari 2600s. Just because of the extra fee.
Yeah, I think it's going to turn a lot of gamers away. Of course, you're going to have your.
How much are we talking about? How much are you going to pay?
They haven't announced it. It could be as low as $1 or as expensive as $20. Nobody knows yet.
They wouldn't do that. That would be ridiculous.
You never know. I wouldn't put it past them.
I could see $20 for the right to install any used game you want, or something.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Microsoft has stated that all information in regards to installation and used games will be clarified at E3, which is about 2 weeks away. Sony has said the same thing, so we're only a few weeks away of knowing everything. From the articles I'm reading, Microsoft internally has not made any decisions. There's a lot of conflicting ideas about what's going to happen, but the real answer is that nothing has been finalized. Everything is still up in the air in terms of what's going on with Microsoft. So it'll be exciting to see what happens, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds exciting. I mean, as somebody who has never fallen into the gaming market especially strongly, except for Steam, where I just dipped my toe in, and as a Linux user, it was really important for me. And now that Steam's available, a lot of the games that would excite me are not even available. I'm always interested to see what it would take to get me interested in the gaming market. And it doesn't sound like the Xbox One is it.
It might not be, but we'll find out.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so are we? Do we still have one more show, or
this is the last one? So
I wish I had some confetti, man.
I know we might. I know we talked about maybe touching base, maybe for a special in the summer. So we'll figure that out. We'll talk, I guess, amongst ourselves, and we'll make our announcements on our communication channels if we do that.
Yeah, if we do that, maybe we'll do it in person.
That would be...
Yeah, that would be epic.
That would be sweet. So
From Winberries, we'll do it.
Yeah. So to the rest of our listeners, we will probably see you all again in September. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see you sooner, and we will be sure to communicate that if we do decide to do a summer special. This has been a really amazing experience for me.
Me too.
If you had told me 12 months ago that I could add podcaster to my Twitter bio, I would have thought you were nuts. But here we are, 30 episodes later, and we are still
we've taken on some serious topics. I mean, these are things I'm proud to have discussed and to have hashed out in a public forum. I really appreciate the platform for it, and it was your idea, and I'm really proud and happy to be a part of it.
Well, I'm really proud of the work that we do every week. My only wish is that more and more people get aboard the customer and the service train. Maybe that's something we can work on this summer, is how do we spread the word. Maybe we need to do some guest spots on other local podcasts or podcasts that we know of. Because I'd really love for more people to join in the conversation. And I
agree, and I think that that's an easily solvable problem. The problem that I think that would be harder to solve is, do we have things worth talking about, or do we have good content, or do we have the energy to do this? We've proven all those things to be, we have all of that. Getting it into the hands of people who want to hear those things is another matter, and I think that's just something that you and I have been working out our ideas for the way that we want this format to go and what we want it to be. So now that we've established that, we can spend the time in September audience building and really having continuity and connectivity and all those things that are required for success in that way.
Well, good, because the feedback that I always hear for people that do listen to our show, I know on my end is a small group of people. I don't know what it is on your end, but the people that in my world that listen regularly are always telling me what an amazing show we do, how great the episodes are, how much they appreciate the information we give them, and they love learning about different things that we talk about that we have knowledge of. So I can only imagine that other people, if they just listen once, would probably feel the same way. So
yeah, actually, most of the feedback I get is that we have an incredible sort of quiet hilarity to our podcast. Like we'll say a little throwaway line, either you throw it my way or I throw it your way. And I have a friend that I talk to on a regular basis. She's probably watching tonight, and she said her favorite line from any of our podcasts has been the use of the word bitey to describe the small sandwich at
Quiznos. That's right.
Quiznos, the bitey.
Yeah.
She said they ought to take that and market it.
They should. Well, to your friend, thank you so much for giving us that feedback. I love that. And are you there? Did I lose you? Oh, shit. We can't even say goodbye without your screensaver kicking in. Oh man, I'm just gonna keep talking to myself until you come back. Please come back. You're still there. You are. Hi.
I am.
Hi.
God, went a little bit too long.
September, we need to get that fixed too.
Oh, I gotta get that fixed like today.
Yeah. So until next time, John.
Until next time, Sean. Thanks so much.
Don't forget, there's always money in the banana stand too.
Absolutely, that's true.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.